Good afternoon, folks, and happy Thursday. Today we are going to be doing some exploring down here at the ranch. We're going to start heading back deeper into the woods here. I've been calling it parts unknown, so hopefully I don't run into the missing link out there. But what I am going to try to do is work me a path back this way. I'd like to get about 50 yards back there and then open up a little pocket, a little area that I can kind of bring my chair and stuff into. And depending on how far I get today, I might do it again the next time I'm out, go about 50 yards. I think that I'm probably within less than 200 yards from the back of my property, the property line here. And so I'm going to be doing a little surveying while I'm out there and see if I can find my property line flags. Normally you could go onto a site that shows you the property lines, but these have not been updated yet because the guy I bought it from broke it up into different parcels that he was selling out. So I'm gonna have to kind of find them on my own. So that's kind of my game plan. I figured today it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. I probably have a couple hours that I can kind of start working me a trail back here and see how far I can get. And hopefully I can get kind of far enough and find an area to open up a pocket, little place I can hang out while I'm out here doing this. But that's the plan today. So here we go, exploring at the ranch. Well, I took out my pole with my camera on it. So remember, I don't know if I said this, I was looking for the path of least resistance. I don't know what's going on back here, but there's a big ditch right here, a big ditch right here, and it's fighting me already. And then it gets pretty thick right there. There's just all these kind of washout spots or something back here. So I'm not sure if this is going to be the best direction to go, or at least in this area right here. All right, I gotta see if I can find a better place to come in at. I think it's really washboard in here and giving me a hard time. That's why I ended up running into my pole here, because it got stuck in this little ditch and I had to keep going backwards. Oh, okay. Recalculating. Oh boy, this is I'll tell you what's a little scary is when you're trying to go backwards and you got like a big rut like this where you kind of have no choice but to keep backing up, and then you run into a tree and get pinned in between a tree and that machine. It's a little tight in here for sure. And then there's like this dead tree I just cleared out of here. But I think if I can push her through there and start heading straight back, there almost looks like there's a small game trail and a little bit of an opening back there. So maybe maybe I can get back in there. If not, I'm gonna probably have to come up with a different idea. I may need something much bigger to get in there that these ruts won't be such a problem. But here's a washout, here's a washout, and back there it seemed like every 5 foot I was running into a washout. So anyway, let's see if I can push back a little bit farther here. See if I can get to a nice flat area, or at least a little bit clearer spot for a better trail. So here we go. Look at that gnarly sucker. That's not fun. That's what I was trying to walk through there, all them thorns. Yikes. All right, folks, we're about 45 minutes into this little project. I was hoping to make it about 50 yards into here. I think maybe I made it 25, maybe 15 yards into here. I don't know, but this is pretty rough in here. These thorns just tore me up right here. So I ran across this area, and my neighbor had called me at one point in time. It was actually while I was out here watching the Chiefs game, and said that he thinks he came onto my property a little bit because he didn't see the flags here. But I think this little trail is from him, because here's my property line to the north. You can kind of see straight down through there. There's my flags. But he's cutting a four-wheeler trail for his kids and grandkids. So this is actually my neighbor's property here. So anyway, I think he opened this up a little bit when he was doing this work back here. So this seems like a fairly decent area if I can kind of get a decent path back to it to maybe continue my trail. But I think I'm gonna have to come in here, get all this wood piled up, possibly burned off. This going this way does not look terrible. I mean, you can see the big trees, the big pine trees back there. I mean, those are the next set of the biggest trees that I run into. So this would be a lot of shrubs and, you know, these little thick bushes and probably thorns, of course. But this area is a little bit rough. It's a little marshy almost. It's got a lot of ruts in it also from what I'm looking at, but I don't know. Again, this is why I call this exploring day, because we're trying to figure out what's going on. But this seems like a pretty rough little area to get through. All this stuff is pretty thick. And then I walked over here a minute ago. So I think basically if I would have been able to keep going straight on the trail I originally started, I'd probably pop out right about here. And looking at this, I may be able to sorry, I thought I heard something. Huh. Anyway, I think I might be able to cut through here fairly easily, except for the fact that there's all those ruts in there. But I'm like looking this way, like that is thick stuff right there. That is thick stuff right there. There's just not really a good path of least resistance. Now, that kinda looks like a game trail of some kind, but that's pretty thick in there. So I think I'm gonna go back to the camp, go back to the lean-to, and maybe regroup. I may see if there's another spot somewhere in here, somewhere on the other side of the property that might be a little bit easier to navigate. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Here we go. Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear that. It sounds like a cat. When Kendrick and I were out here the other day, we were hearing that, and so I pulled out my Merlin app, and I believe that this is what is called a gray catbird, and it sounds just like a kitten. So that's kind of cool. Well, I'm not gonna lie, exploring at the ranch part 1 did not go how I was hoping it would go. It's just pretty rough back there, and I think I can make it through. I think I'm just gonna have to get a path wide enough that I don't keep getting the machine caught up in trees and vines, and I've got cuts all over me from those little prickly suckers there. But anyway, so we're gonna walk over here for a second because I haven't really been over to this side of my property in a while. Most of this stuff is pretty easy to get through, but I think, yeah, okay, so here's this yellow marker. There should be some pink ones somewhere, but this was a little bit of a trail when I first came out here, when I first purchased my property. So again, there is a lot of this big tree systems that are half in and out of the ground. I kind of need cleaned up, but at some point I might be able to push my way back through there and get back to the edge of my property, and eventually I'm gonna get all this little small stuff cleaned up anyway. But I'm really kind of in this mode where I want to find the back of my property. I want to know where it's at. I want to be able to kind of go back there and clean up enough of it that it's a very obvious end of my property line. So I found this one day when I was mowing, and this is a little bit of a game trail going through here, and I'm almost wondering if I might be able to follow it through the path of least resistance. You probably can't see, it's kind of dark back there, but it keeps on winding back that way, and it seems like it's pretty small stuff, and it doesn't seem like there's as many ruts as there is over there. I don't really know why there's so many over there. I imagine at some point in time there were logging trucks and stuff in here. But so this is where we have one of the game trails. I'm thinking that maybe the next time we do an exploring out here at the ranch, I might try to work that game trail and just see how far I can get pushed back there. One big thing is I need the path to be wide enough that I can get that machine back in there and not get caught up on trees and vines and all that good stuff. But I've got probably about another hour and a half of sunlight left, so I think what I'm going to do is work on this little area over here on the other side of the lean-to and just get it cleaned up a little bit and opened up, because my property line is like literally 15 foot in there, 20 foot in there. So I may just go ahead and work on this for about an hour, just so I don't feel completely defeated. And most of this is small shrubs, so should be fairly easy to clean up. So I don't know if you can see, but there's my pink ribbon right there. That's the end of my property line. So I may start cleaning up this little area just a little bit, at least for about an hour, and see if I can feel like I got something accomplished today, except for getting myself hurt out in the woods. So here we go. This thing here can be kind of like getting one of them shopping carts at the grocery store that one of the wheels is up off the ground and you have a hard time keeping it going the direction you want to go in. But especially in this kind of rougher terrain. But anyway, she went through there pretty good, got that all cleaned up. A good majority of this is going to be really like this, very easy to get cleaned up. Now that I know, that I have to focus on the property line, kind of what I mean by that is, when I very first bought this place, I found this little area because it was kind of up on the hill and all the rain seemed to run that way. And so I started clearing out an area in here. I had a little shade there where the lean-to is. Anyway, longer story shorter, it was probably about 2.5 months after I started working down here that I got a neighbor to the north of me. And at first I thought, well, maybe he won't venture this close to my property, but I think he's trying to cut some four-wheeler trails, which is all good. But at the same time, I have kind of cleared out this area to try to possibly put a cabin in, some water in. It's just been kind of what's been on my mind for a while. Kind of now, with realizing how close the property line is and that he's probably going to be pretty active over there, I am thinking that I might try to turn my direction to more of the center of my property. The road's down here, I would say maybe 150, 200 yards. We just walked over to the south edge of my property, which is again a good little stroll over that direction to the south. But back here seems like I could get farther off of the road, farther off of that property, and have a little bit more seclusion to myself back there. The property to the south of me is for sale. It's been for sale for a while. Nobody's bought it. If I could afford it, I'd buy it, just so I kind of knew I'd have that southern border down there to not have to worry about anything. But mostly, you know, I bought this place to have a place to kind of come out, get away from the city, get away from town, away from the traffic. And I've already kind of got some neighbors across the road. Got one to the north. I get one to the south, I'm gonna start feeling like I'm a little bit boxed in. But anyway, with all that being said, episode 1 down here exploring at the ranch, I liked that we got into some new areas. We kind of figured out where we can't go, where we might want to go. I think the next time I come out here to do something like this, we'll probably tuck in over there where we saw that little game trail. See if that's a little bit easier, push back towards the back of the property. If not, I may see if I can find a spot somewhere in this vicinity right here. And I want to keep working on this right here. I want to keep opening this up. I probably eventually want to do some more work back here by the elevated deer stand. I'm not sure how much more of that I want to clear out. Again, the neighbor's property is right there. So off of this trail here, where we get all the deer on the game trail, we're only 5 yards off of the edge of my property there. So again, I think this might end up being the direction that I want to go in. And I might see if I can find a spot in here that it looks like I can poke through there. My hope is to get a big enough trail that I can get that machine in there fairly comfortably to get it turned around. I mean, it's a bit makes you a little bit nervous when you're in there in all these trees, because you'll be backing up and you'll be hitting a branch, and then the branch gets caught up in your controllers. And so the wider the better. The easier I can get in there and make a wide trail, the better. But I think that's the direction we're going to go on the next episode of Exploring at the Ranch. I appreciate you all watching. I'll be out here this Saturday getting some work done on day 46 out here. Probably going to keep hammering away at this area, getting it opened up. Tune in for that, folks. Appreciate you watching. We'll catch you next time.